Hi, my name is Elvin, and I'm a second year student at the Game Assembly in Stockholm. In this combat encounter, we're taking the role of an older sibling who has been taken capture together with their younger sibling as political prisoners in a war. The player starts in a cage. On the opposite side, they can see their sibling also locked in. A crate can be moved and climbed upon in order to reach a pipe inside the cage. Climbing this lets the player get outside. The player's sibling cannot escape the same way, however, and their door is locked and needs correct access. A display should say Overwatch Tower Override Access Required. To the right of the sibling's cage, there is a large window. Outside the window, the player gets a clear view of their long-term goal, the Overwatch Tower, which should have a button for opening the cages. I'm using the red lights in the cages and similar red lights on the tower to make the connection between the two even stronger. Upon turning around, the player finds a way out of the room. The player finds a garage with a vehicle. The player can escape with this vehicle, but not yet, not without their sibling. The door forward is locked, but the player can see an opening just above. Turning around, the player sees yet another pushable crate they can use. The player traverses and walks through various dimly lit rooms, always keeping the Overwatch Tower on their left side. These rooms motivate movement and exploration, as the exit from each room is always hidden from where the player enters. The player notices that the base is seemingly empty, with no enemies in sight, for now. The tower is revealed again through a pinch point, where I frame it through this large window. I am showing the player the information that I want them to take in without taking the control away from the player. The next entrance leads to the lobby area and is also lit in red light. I'm using matching color coding as the Overwatch Tower, which is solidifying the player's progression in the right direction. An opening all the way in the back of the lobby leads to the outside, where the player expects to see the tower. I wanted to make sure that the player knew in which direction the tower was and to have already oriented themselves to the tower from different previous angles and reveals. Instead, I blocked the player by a drawbridge that has been opened and cannot be passed. This is a problem. An electrical box next to the bridge has a cable connected to it. The cable acts as a leading line, leading towards a different building on the other side of a ravine, with a large sign saying Bridge Control. I'm assuring the player that they recognize the problem before they find the solution. The player turns around with the newly discovered building in mind and goes back inside, since no other options outside seem good. I use some lights that act as a focal point and use to draw the attention to a stairwell leading to the second floor. The second floor leads to a door and a bridge that spans across the ravine and connects up to the new building. The player walks the bridge, but the door to bridge control is blocked. This is done intentionally to create tension. The player gets lost for a moment and turns around and sees a way to climb outside the bridge, a new way seen from a new perspective. This releases that tension and makes the experience for the player much more engaging. The player has to climb outside to reach the bridge control room, but the new path leads away from the Overwatch tower and reinforces that the player understands they're on a side path. For this part, I wanted to focus on creating tension in the player's journey by letting the player feel close to their goal and then losing their goal and getting a bit turned around. Entering the bridge control building, I added some parallaxing geometry on the right side, which helps in creating a more dynamic image using layered geometry with the many pipes. It makes the long walk feel a bit more interesting. The bridge control room hosts large windows that show the outside area and the drawbridge. Pulling a large lever lowers the bridge, seen from the windows. Cause and effect. 2 additional bridges are also lowered. I wanted to add this unforeseen event as another effect of the player's actions, to add some mystery and now foreshadow a possible return of the enemies. Backtracking to the bridge area is made easy with the help of the electrical wire seen before. Walking towards the Overwatch tower, I give the player the illusion of choice by revealing multiple routes that converge on a single point, the tower. I show them 3 alternatives. Along the side of the cliff to the left, a climbable elevator shaft with a freight elevator directly in front of the tower, and finally an adjacent scaffolding connecting near the tower's entrance. For the sake of demonstration, I will take the route along the cliff to the left. The cliff provides a calm and straightforward route, good for taking in all angles of the outside and approaching the tower with the most certainty. The player reaches the convergence point, large doors leading into the tower, but they are locked. Looking around, the player finds another way forward. A bit of light bleeds through the other side of a large pipe. I'm giving the players ideas and making them curious. This creates mystery since the player assumes something exists, but has to go and find out what that is. It again builds tension when walking around the building, since the player has never seen the backside and expects a new way to enter the tower from here. The player has to climb up the side of the tower in order to find a way in. Here I'm continuing the vocabulary with climbable ledges and pushable crates. The player can choose to turn left or continue forward. Hopefully, I've built enough trust with the player that they wish to go explore. Walking left, the player sees a red light in the next room, used as signposting to tell the player that they are nearing their goal. Walking right, however, the player finds a new room with a set of windows, giving them a view of the same red light from a new angle, revealing a button. The player can also see a stash of guns, which will come in handy. And a bathroom for immersion. Pressing the button finally opens the siblings' cage, allowing them both to escape with the vehicle the player found, but also triggers an alarm that brings back the enemies to the base in large trucks, an effect of the player previously lowering the bridges. The player can now pick up the guns they previously saw. A vent in the wall seems like a good way out. After looking around, the player finds yet another pushable crate. From this bird's nest, the player gets a privileged perspective over the outside area again, now filled with patrolling enemies. I designed this part in such a way to allow the player to push forward when they feel ready. From this point, there are multiple ways to approach the encounter. I have carefully placed thematical covers in each approach where I knew the player would face gunfighting. Backtracking through the outside area reveals some previously missed pickups, bandages and ammo. These are likelier to be spotted by the player now that they're backtracking. From here on out, it's the player's goal to make it back to their sibling's cage and the vehicle in the garage. The player now enters the room where the cages are and greets their sibling. Opening the garage door poses a final challenge, clearing out the enemies outside. Before entering the vehicle and escaping together. And that's the end of the experience. Thank you for watching.